So, welcome to the Node-API meeting on August 12th. And let's begin with our standard routine. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. So the first one is about the full coverage, but I didn't see Jack is here. So I'm afraid we don't have any. I don't have any news to report. So if there is anything to share before we continue to the next topic.
No, let's continue.
Yeah. There's still issues. Is about the unknown. I didn't participate in this problem very well. I believe we have a conversation on this problem in the previous meetings. So do we have any updates on this? Oh, there is a PR.
Are there new commits?
No.
No.
So the PR is still in draft and there are no new updates. And we have no news to share. So maybe we can move to the next topic. Let's see another one. It's about stairs function. Really.
Yeah, we need Kevin to comment on it.
Yeah, I didn't participate in these conversations. So it may need time to dig into the problem to see what's going on here. I'll leave it to here if there is no news to report. And if we got some time at the end of the meeting, maybe we can come back to this. Let's see another one.
Yeah, I'm still working. Example. So technically, I have a basic example on using this proxy, but now I'm trying to match it with non-APIs. I'm going to move this example to examples folder. So I just, it's still on draft here, but I'm going to close it in this repo, and the whole thing will be just a sample instead of our examples.
Yeah, right. So if I recall correctly, the example here is using the proxy JS API, right? We
Yes.
don't have any native proxy API, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it's just an example which how to use JavaScript proxy API, proxy standard object. No additional Node API was introduced.
I'm wondering if it is possible to expose the proxy native API. I'm not sure about if V8 and other engines if they are exposing proxy native API, but it's a possible solution to it. I mean,
in Hermes, they don't have. They do have a concept of host object, which is like proxy-like, but they don't have anything which looks like object template inside of V8.
I mean,
proxy.
Proxy. You see, we have a JavaScript proxy API, but we didn't expose a Node API to create proxy directly.
We can do it, but I don't see much benefit to expand the API for that yet.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that could be an alternative. So I'll leave it to you to see what's the best approach here. If we can do it with the JS proxy API, then great.
Yeah, it definitely works. Even this code, if you look on files changed, it's only unit test is added here, and everything what we do is just using normal Node API to create proxy and do the rest from there. So I think it's this approach definitely works.
Yeah, that will be.
But this code is too complex. Whatever I have currently in works, it's a little bit simplified. I mean, it's more streamlined. Yeah, in this example, we do have, we see like, if you stop here, like you see, we have a get proxy handler. So at this point, we're just simply defining 4 different proxy traps, like get, set, own keys, and get own property descriptor. So for example, in our code, where we use JSI on top of, say, Chakra, in order to simulate this host object behavior, we pretty much just do this proxy, just these 4 methods. They're usually enough to simulate object behavior. But proxy has more. Proxy has the ability to be called as a function, as a constructor, a lot of other things.
Is this a JavaScript proxy?
Yes.
This is a JavaScript wrapper. Do we have, is there an example to show how this looks in JavaScript? Like how this is exported to JavaScript? Is there a JS file? Okay.
Yeah, this is a JS file.
Okay.
But internally, with C++ code just simply wraps up JavaScript proxy, which is technically a JavaScript standard. So this approach must work cross-engine. Pretty much any JavaScript engine which supports proxy, this approach would work.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, what we are doing is we are creating a JavaScript proxy and trying to import that into C++, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So the next step for this issue is that you are going to move this example to the Node add-on example repository. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
That sounds great. And probably we can add another wrapper class in the Node add-on API if you see it's beneficial to have.
Yes, I think we inside of our C++ wrapper, we can add this convenience class, like you said.
Yeah, and if people are moving from NAND to Node add-on API, it will be helpful if we have a equivalent class for the NAND version of the object template or something like that.
Unfortunately, we can't do, like, it would not possible to define just some macro and people who use none just automatically works. the reason is actually inside of none, they're using directly some V8 API. So none is not, at least from what I see, none is not independent API. It somehow like extends V8 API. So to my understanding, it's not, I don't really understand the purpose of none.
None is created for compatibility between different node versions, so people can write one single version of their add-on, and their code can work across different versions of V8, since V8 API is constantly changing. So they don't have to update their own add-on code, since none is going to provide a macros and help functions to alleviate to remove the changes between different V8 versions. So that's the purpose of none, if I understand correctly. So that's it.
I understand, but looking at this API, I think it's a little bit deficient in terms of, for example, then we access property like get and setter for property, none only using strings. So if your property happen to be symbol as a name, using symbol as a name, none API will not able to help you. So technically,
yeah, I suppose that's because of that's about the backward compatibility issue, since the old version of it is not supporting symbols. But I'm not sure about the exact reason. It's my assumption.
I see. Okay.
So that's great. And we'll come back to this if you have any progress on it.
Okay. Thank you.
So this marked as done. So I'm going to move to the next topic. Let's see if there's anything new. Dino is implementing Node-API, but I'm not sure if there is anything we can do here. So let's wait for Nicola. And Michael is not here too, so we'll wait for Michael for it. Not sure. I don't see anything new in this issue. We'll come back to this later. So this one is Nicola is not here, so we'll wait for Nicola for this issue. And this too.
So about this non-C language bindings, one of my interests is actually C# binding. And I had a look at this implementation recently. I don't know if anyone had experience of it, but it seems like project is still in, it's not completed yet. It's very, very early bits.
Yeah, it's said it's in the early stage. I have no knowledge on Windows development, so I don't have any .NET experience. So I'm not sure I can share any insight here.
Because I want to have it for, say, in React Native Windows, we want to have modules to be written not only in C++, but also in C#. And I was considering to have a wrapper for Node.API in C#. And it seems like this one is not complete. At least it will not able to fit my needs, our needs, React Native Windows project. I may actually, at some point, want to kind of have a different wrapper or something for C# for Node API.
Yeah, that sounds very awesome if we can have one complete wrapper in the C#. So is there any next step for this before we can move to the next topic?
No, but let's move on.
Yeah. It would be great to have bindings in these various languages so that we can expand the Node API coverage in much broader community, I suppose. So let's move on. So let's check the issue list labeled with Node API. I didn't identify anything new in the last week, and also in the, let's see, Node add-on API. I didn't see anything new in the last week. So is there anything anyone would like to bring up before we continue to the issue list?
Can I ask you a little bit about your pull requests for finalizers?
Yeah.
So my understanding, you do implement this finalizer queue, right?
Yes.
So
sorry.
So technically, every time we have a finalizer, is they put first in a queue, and at some point we just simply draining this queue.
Yeah. So let's see. It's here. We go back. So every time a reference is being, its persistent is being collected and there where we go back is invoked, the reference is being enqueued to the environment's finalizer queue, and the environment will schedule second pass callback with set immediate, and in the set immediate callback it will be the queue. So that's the basic design of the cancelable finalizer second pass callback, since we can remove finalizers from the queue as it's defined in here. We can remove it from the finalizer queue if it's deleted early, likely by user deleted, or it's mainly because user deleted early before the second pass callback. So it will be removed from the queue, and there won't need any wrapping around the second pass callback parameters like we have before, which is quite cumbersome to understand. It's hard to understand. So I believe this implementation can, we removed many lines here and just a few lines new. So I believe it can be much simpler.
Okay. Sounds good. Is it okay if I leave some comments? I looked at this implementation a little bit, and I do have some questions and ideas. Like, for example, one question I have, like your choice of data structure for finalizer queue. You chose this unordered set, and I wonder why not queue something.
I chose the unordered set because we need to remove the finalizer from the queue efficiently, so we don't have to look into the queue to find the item we need to remove. And I'm very looking forward to your comment and to your questions. I'm very welcome. You can comment in the PR so that we can continue the discussion on the pull request on the GitHub. So please feel free to drop a comment in the PR.
Okay.
You can see here we are removed. If user delete the finalizer, delete a reference before we run the finalizer in the second pass callback, so we have to remove it from the queue. So if we have using a queue as the structure here, I suppose we need to iterate over the queue to find the item we need to remove, if I recall correctly. So that's why I chose the unordered set here so that we can remove it efficiently.
In my understanding that from some of our previous meetings, Node.API, that we did call finalizers according to some order, and now it's unordered. Like, I just wonder if do you think it may affect something or not?
Actually, with my test with V8, V8 is not determined to invoke the the weak callback of the object in an order, in a determined order. And maybe I can have another concrete test to verify it, since I just play around with it with a very naive test. So I can verify it, but with my preliminary test around the order. So that's why I added the comment here that the invocation order of the finalizers is not determined. And we do have a test for the order here, if I recall correctly. I just got a problem when I implement this PR.
Oh, I think I understand what you've done. Like, you pretty much said like there is no order if we are already inside of this finalizer queue, but we still keep order on environment shutdown, right?
At the environment shutdown, we have two kinds of finalizers, and we will. Yeah, this is a two list of the finalizers. The first list is that the reference that don't have any finalizers registered, so they can be. So you have to run the final run to delete the final the ref list item that have a finalizer first, since they can calling into they can delete other references and they can call into JavaScript. They cannot call into JavaScript and shut down. So they still can delete other references that don't have a finalizer. So we'll run the finalize the ones that they have a finalizer registered, and then we'll delete the references or any items that don't have a callback registered. So this is the order we are guaranteed to when environment is shut down, and we don't have any other kind of finalizers or finalizer invocation order.
I see. Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks. Let's move on to. Yeah, I'll leave my comments. I really like this change. And at some point, I believe one of my iterations for finalizer changes, I also try to implement with queue. So thankfully, seems like ideas kind of circulating around, and definitely it's a really good direction. I really like it.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm very looking forward to your reviews on it. Please feel free to ask any questions on the GitHub.
Okay.
Is there any other topics on this issue, on this PR?
No, I don't have questions.
Okay, so let's move on to, let's see, just wait a minute.
Just to tell you that one place I kind of think this finalizer queue could be useful is, remember I had this PR about this reference counting. One thing I need out of this reference counting, new reference counting, that it must be able to work from any thread. And if we have a finalizer queue, I will be able to, even then the ref count goes to 0 and we're in different thread, I will have ability not to delete object immediately, reference immediately, but rather put it in a queue, and then we're in the right thread. Only at this point we delete it. So it's some kind of design I have in mind to utilize your queue in future.
Yeah, that sounds a good point. But I suppose that the current implementation of Node environment set immediate is not thread safe actually.
Right.
And we do have a thread safe version of set immediate in the Node core, and it facilitates the mutaxes. So there are, yeah, I believe it's possible, and if it's beneficial to your reference counting, I believe it's worth to try.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's continue.
But this one, I didn't have any time to look into this in the last week, but I believe it was worth to explore if we can, if it's how add-on authors can be benefit from this API. I'm planning to look into this in the next weekend, and since I got some free time.
Okay.
So I have nothing new to report here. Do you have any updates?
No, I didn't look at this, but it will be great if you could see.
Well, then we'll move on to the next topic. This one, I have noticed several updates, several new commits on this PR, but I didn't have much time to take a look on it. And I can see that Anna has requested changes on the PR as it's about the effort. If it's worthy to introduce embedders into Node API, since the Node API currently is mainly focused on the add-on authors. I believe I don't have any updates on this issue since I didn't have much time to look into it.
Yeah, I didn't look at this stuff too. Yeah, I'll check it. Just see. I'm curious to learn about it.
Yeah,
using
it will be
Node.
beneficial if you can take a look at the API design, if it can fit in the Hermes engines and any other engines you are familiar.
No, I think like in terms of embedding Node.js, this API will be effectively it will be kind of very Node.js specific. I think it's why kind of previously I proposed this API must be separated from Node.API. I mean, Node.API, I mean, like whatever been used by module developers, well, pretty much API we discussed before. I think this is different set of API. It should be totally different, if you like. We want to make it ABI safe in terms of kind of ABI compatibility, and that works between different compilers and stuff. Because C++ is not ABI safe between compilers. Like, for example, I can't use compiled DLL on Windows. If it's compiled, say, in Clang, I can't use it really from MSVC if it's C++, because I have using different C++ name handling scheme. So the only kind of universal one should be C-based. But
Yeah, that's sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that's reasonable to me since that's the main topic in this thread. So I believe this API is expected to the embedders rather than add-on authors.
Right.
So since there is no updates on this, I believe we can move on to another topic. JS inheritance from C++. I didn't see any updates, I mean, any new commits on this PR. So do we have any new tool on this? If not,
I don't see any changes here, but I believe one kind of more practical way to achieve this inheritance is maybe to use proxies. I don't know, it's something what I'm curious to try. We'll see.
Sorry, but I'm not following the point why inheritance related to proxies.
No, I mean, like if we want to support some kind of inheritance, it may be one of the possible ways, which I believe, I didn't try it yet, but one path I want to explore, if we can use proxies for that reason. Because this PR, if you remember, it's the kind of the developer exposing some internal guts of object template.
Yeah,
so, function template. Yeah, function template, sorry. And we said function template is not something what we see in other languages. But the problem probably still exists, like people asking how we can inherit, how we can implement inheritance. And I believe one of the possibilities would be using proxies.
But I remember correctly, function template cannot inherit directly from a JS value, since the function template is created as a context agnostic data structure, and it can be created before any context is instantiated. So I may need time to look into this, why it's beneficial for inheriting JS from C++.
I see. Yeah, we definitely don't want to expose function template. It's what kind of gist of his PR. I guess next question, okay, if we can't use function template, what will be the next best thing to achieve this goal? Can we do something else?
I see. It still cannot inherit a JavaScript value. It's just the function template inheriting another function template. And
Right.
that's not sufficient for the problem we have, like say inheriting a event target or event emitter, since they are JavaScript values.
Right. And the only thing which I believe might happen if we can utilize JavaScript proxies, so it should be potentially doable. I don't know. I really need to try it first to see.
Yeah.
But I need to finish my example first before I go to this step.
Yeah, sounds great. Let's wait for your examples before we can come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I will drop a comment here about the fact that we cannot inherit the JavaScript class with this API. It may not be met the problem about inheriting JavaScript classes. I'll do it later, since I'll need to sum up some reason on it.
And if you see, like, our last comment was exactly considering all the different scenarios, and developer said like no, some of them is not achievable.
Oh yes, I believe Kevin has covered this.
Yeah, we discussed it with July 2nd.
Yeah, sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So these two are your works. I believe you are continuing to going on this work.
Yeah, like with finalizers, we will probably supersede. So technically, first one about finalizers, I'm going to build on top of your PR with addition of this feature, like we discussed last time. So I have found this feature implementation from PR. Remember, like, we had this issue with get all properties. I had implemented a prototype there, so I pulled it on top, put it on top of your code. And so we can actually run finalizers either immediately if they have no JavaScript inside, or they can actually run as a part of set immediate. So it will be changed on top of your PR. So it will be not the queue will be run not necessarily as a part of set immediate, but I think that some of these finalizers will be run immediately.
Yeah, we can rename the in queue to something more agnostic about the in queue, like say, sorry, I didn't come up with any name immediately, but I believe we can rename the method if you find it's not describing the condition very well.
Right.
And
second one about with references is mostly I want to have I want to kind of complete it. One thing which I'm missing right now is actually weak references, which I want to have.
Sorry, weak references?
Right.
About the weak references, I just want to mention that there is a Node-API implementation on the edge devices. They don't support weak references as now, since their engines are depend on the reference content and garbage collection. So they are asserting if the reference count goes down to 0, they cannot basically they are going to release the value when the reference count goes to 0, and they will no longer get the value once.
I see.
So there is no weak reference in their implementation.
Okay, let me ask a question. So technically, the weak reference I have in mind, it's something which is like part of JavaScript language standard. It's not ES6, but I think it's an upcoming standard. They introducing something called like a weak reference, I believe.
Yeah, but we don't have any native API for those equivalent to JavaScript weak ref similar things.
I see. Oh,
I'm
okay.
not sure these engines are exposing it since, if I recall correctly, there is no any weak reference API. Oh, yeah.
So they do have a weak ref support.
Yeah, they do have a weak reference, but I need to take a look at it. But I mean, yeah, there is no API to create a weak reference in the native API. You have to create it in the JavaScript. So
see.
yeah, we
Okay,
can.
I'll get back to it and see. Thanks for your comment. But I totally agree with you. I don't really like our current reference at all. The fact that whenever our count kind of reference count goes to 0, we become in some kind of magically some weak reference. I think it's I don't really like this design because I don't understand it and it's very difficult to explain. What I really think we should be doing instead, effectively separate this problem into two different things. One of them, say from C++, we want to reference a JavaScript object. So simple reference counter works just fine, right? In terms of if reference count goes to 0, we just kill our reference and automatically everything's fine. But we have another problem, which I believe what caused this reference to be more complex, is how to reference from JavaScript, how to reference C++ objects. And in this scenario, we have two things to consider. One of them, we need to notify C++ objects, and this JavaScript object goes out of scope, so we can actually delete these resources. And second one, we must be able from C++ say, we don't want to have this reference anymore, right? We kind of want to destroy it on our own. And I wonder if we can somehow separate this concept of reference counting from one end and referencing from another end.
I believe the current behavior is just mimicking the V8 persistent behavior, since V8 persistent behavior can be, we can set the persistent to a weak persistent, and when the vulnerable callback is not present, then we just depend on the garbage collection to see if we can still reach to the JavaScript value. So that's what I can share on the behavior of the Node-API references.
Right, but if we look at even V8 behavior, V8 does not have ref counting there, right? We have either persistent object or it becomes this weak object.
Yeah, right.
But when we reference it from C++, for persistent object, we implemented ref counting, right? But for weak object, we have no ref counting.
Yeah, we don't have reference counting in the JavaScript weak reference. Honestly, there is no reference counting in the JavaScript language, since that's implementation defined behavior.
Right.
But so the next step for the PR is that you are still looking into the. I'm not sure if you which approach you are choosing to do as the next step.
Yeah, like let me work on it next week or two, and I'll definitely.
Yeah, sounds great. So we'll come back to this next week.
I don't have solution yet. It's just still thinking.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't have a solution. I just comment about my thoughts on this.
Cool. Thanks.
I don't have any new on this document. And Deepak, do you have any link to this document if you would like to work on C++? If so, I can share this document with you and you can pick up any part of your interest.
Oh, yes, sure.
Work on.
Oh, yeah, please share it with me. Yep. Can you put it in the chat or?
Yeah, I posted on the chat.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
So it's all about the optimization point we can do in the Node.API implementation in the core. And we are currently focusing on the finalizer part.
Okay.
And possibly you can find if you would like to work and do, like, say, the refactor on the thread function to adopt the finalizer interface can be a good path to pick up, since there is no functionality change.
Yeah.
And it's all about the code refactoring.
Is there any open issue for that?
No, we just have a issue check the whole consolidation.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have a checking issue for the whole project.
Okay.
And we don't have a separate issue for each item.
Yeah, cool. Let me take a look at it. Thank you.
Yeah. If you are interested in the implementation, please comment in the issue so that we know you are working on it.
Sure.
That would be great.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't have anything else to discuss. Do you have anything else to discuss before we close?
No, I just want to share that I'm kind of looking at changes in Hermes engine API, and they recently added a big int implementation. So it feels like we should be able to have more complete Node API implementation for Hermes soon. So it's
that sounds awesome.
It sounds like quite exciting.
Yeah, a complete support for Node API for Hermes is definitely helpful for add-on authors to adopt Node API on Hermes.
And also, I'm going to have I finally been approved for the repo which implements GSI on top of Node API. GSI is actually a C++-based interface used by implemented by Meta inside of React Native, and it's being used inside of React Native community. So I do have this GSI on top of Node API implemented already, but it's currently in three different repos. So I'm gonna have one single repo just for that project.
Yeah, sounds great. Is there any let's say links that can be shared publicly? So that
yes.
we can...
So this repo is not public yet. It's going to be public soon, as soon as I put it there. But if you talk about code itself, code can be found today inside of our React Native Windows public repo. I can probably should I post it in a chat? Just if somebody listening to us, I want people kind of be aware.
Chat is fine. Or you can also open up an issue in the API stable node so that we can check if in this repo, so that we can regularly check if there is any problem or there is anything new we need to discuss. Your implementation in the JSI, if I call it correctly, so you can regularly check the implementation and to see if there is anything new to discuss, or is there anything behavior we should to revisit.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, because some of my additions, like for example, is ref counting nodes and stuff, many of them is coming from requirement to implement GSI on top of Node.API, because GSI had some requirements to API. That's why I needed to extend Node.API, and some of these extensions which I have, I want them to be part of the core of Node.API.
Yeah, I believe that's very valuable for us to discuss the comparability of Node.API between different engines.
And so think yeah, the whole implementation just 2 files, like a header file, CVP file. I posted them inside of this inside of chat. Yeah.
Great. Maybe I can take a briefing to look into it late after the meeting. That's great.
Would be nice. Appreciate it.
So before we close, is there anything we need to discuss?
No, that's it. That's it from me.
Great. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah, have a great weekend.